Hello, 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 everybody. Oh, as soon as I started, the bandita is on the move. Hi, everybody. Where are you gonna go, bandita? Uh-oh, we're going over there. Okay. Where are we going? We don't know. We're just thinking about going somewhere, huh? Yeah. You get little Grinch feet. What's that about? Oh, we're laying down. Okay, alrighty. We were thinking about making a bed, and then we decided, oh, hi, sweetie. I know. I'm talking to you, huh? You can tell. Sweet girl. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Friday night live stream. We are here. It is Friday. Thus, it is time for streaming. I know. Crazy. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? Okay, so we have a couple of things that we need to go over before we get into it. I hope you all are doing well. If you've not been here before, my name's Evie Lupine, and every Friday on this channel, I do a little Q&A live stream. And I definitely think we have some new people coming in from the video that came out earlier this week about decolonizing love and harm in polyamorous education / anti-kink discourse and many other things. So we do talk about polyamory, dating, relationships on these live streams, as well as kink and BDSM and queer issues and all of that good stuff. I usually put a couple of suggestions in the title of things that we could talk about that are currently on my mind, but it is really up to you all and what you would like to talk about. We also usually like to have updates from people who come into this chat frequently, and they share stories about, I'm going to my first munch, or I have my first dom, or I'm negotiating my relationship. And I love hearing follow-up stuff. So if you have been in the stream before and you have shared stuff, or I've given you advice, I would love to hear more about what your experience has been like since then. But in general, it's whatever y'all want to talk about. And some key things that you should know. Number one, this stream is 18 plus only because I am an adult and I talk about adult subjects, and I am not certified in any way to give advice to minors, and so I don't. So if you're a minor, please don't be here. It's really, really simple. You can come back on your birthday when you turn 18 and come hang out with us. We have that happen occasionally, and that would be perfect. That would be great. But please read the rules and the FAQ down below, because we have some links to commonly asked questions. I hold the right to be able to answer whatever I want to and skip over what I don't want to talk about. I will usually give people an opportunity in the last 20 minutes of the stream to ask a question again in case I've missed it, because I typically go in the order of the chat, unless you use a super chat, in which case you get to take the express lane and I'll answer your question right away. Otherwise, you gotta wait for me to finish rambling, and then maybe I'll get to it. But you can re-ask again at the end of the stream, or you can use a super chat. And again, those rules and FAQs down below will give you resources for commonly asked questions, like where can you buy gear, what books do you recommend, that kind of thing, just because that's easier to go over in a linked resource versus trying to answer it live on a live stream. So there you go. That is that on that. That is what you all need to know for the stream, more or less. But boy, howdy, it's been a week. It has been a week. I finally released the biggest video I have ever made. Between scripting and filming and editing, I mean, it took me like 2 solid weeks to get all the way through it. And I'm really happy that people have had a positive response to it. But, you know, it's had some downsides as well. I keep learning about new things. Oh, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean, for the start of the stream gifts. Oh, I also forgot to mention that if you would like to become a member of our YouTube live streams, that is an option for you. It is so you can use emotes in the chat. They are very cute and adorable, and they are custom made just for me and this chat. And that is the best way to be able to get them. And Sean has also just gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much, Sean. You are always very generous. I really appreciate it. And welcome to all of our new members. You get a cute little badge by your name in the chat, and then you also get to use the emotes if you would like. Great job on all your hard work. Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so to clarify, I talked in the video about doing a second video where I just, in like a lot of detail, go over what Decolonizing Love has said about BDSM. And oh my gosh, thank you. Twixie also gifted 5 more memberships. Thank you so much, Twixie. If you would like to get gifted a membership, you can enable that in your Google settings, depending on what device you're using, Android, iOS, what browser you're on. There's a couple of different ways to do it. So you can check that out if you'd like to receive a membership potentially. We just have a bit of information here from Twixie.
Twixie Shores donated $5. I was at a play party involving a group dyke breaking session, and I was the one everyone was trying to break. Was super fun until I had to safe word. Any advice on getting over feeling guilty
really
having to end the scene,
Twixie.
even
Good
when
question.
I know it's the right thing?
Yeah, so Twixie asked about any advice on getting over feeling guilty having to end the scene even when I know it's the right thing. I feel like the best way to get over something like that, at least for me, because I don't struggle with it as much anymore, but certainly early on in my kink journey, I both experienced tops that were like, I love it when I can make my bottom or my submissive say red, and I also met people that were like, felt like it was their obligation to go for as long as the top wanted to go for, and that it was a sign of failure if they had to like quit beforehand. And I think getting verbal affirmation from the people that you were in the scene with and feeling okay asking for that reassurance is really important. So if you can go back to your tops, or even just like a couple of them, depending on who you have contact with, and just say, hey, which this requires a level of vulnerability. So I get that this is risky, but this is, I think, the best way to do it, even if it, there's an emotional cost to reaching out and saying this. You can say, hey, I really enjoyed the scene that we did together. I'm glad I got to have that experience. Since then, I've been having some feelings about ending the scene early, and it would mean a lot to me if I could get some reassurance about how you feel about that and feel about playing with me. And hopefully they can offer you some reassurance of how much they enjoyed the scene and playing with you, and how, like, if the intention of the scene was to break you, then, like, if they couldn't break you, then that probably would have ruined the scene, right? Like, if you didn't end the scene, or if you weren't able to stop it, like if it didn't ever overwhelm you and they just kept trying and trying and trying and nothing was working, well, that actually would probably feel worse for the tops than you ending the scene earlier than maybe you thought you would end it. So just asking for reassurance from people who were part of the scene that can give you really direct feedback, I think, is the best way to combat this. And then secondary to that, if maybe you don't have contact with these people, or maybe like right now that feels too raw to like open up to them and like ask for that reassurance, I would do just some self-affirmations of thinking about, okay, like what's important to me when I play? What are my values when I play? Hopefully somewhere in there you have a value around knowing your own limits and respecting your body, and that doing those things is more important than the people-pleasing part of your brain that tells you, I should just do whatever other people want me to do. Consequences be damned to my body and brain. Like, if you can focus on, hey, I actually did a really good thing because I was acting inside my values. I've proved to my tops that they can trust me to say no and where my limits are at. I feel affirmed that I know where my limits are at and that I can stick up for myself. Like, just think about, like, instead of thinking about it, like, this is sort of the strategy I'm thinking about using here is both like reflecting on and affirming your values, and then also kind of doing like a little bit of reframing around, like, you can think about this from the direction of, oh no, I failed and I messed up and my partners aren't going to want to play with me anymore. Or you can turn it around and be like, actually, I've proven that they can trust actually, there's something I saw on Instagram the other day that was like not even for kink thing, but it was just for like, vanilla relationship stuff. People trust your yes when they know that they can trust your no. So you've proven that they can trust your no. You've proven to yourself that you can trust your no and your limits, that you can stick up for yourself, that you are respecting yourself. And these should all be values as kinksters that I think, generally speaking, as a blanket statement, as a general rule, I think we should probably hold those values higher than, just simply going for as long as our top sort of in the abstract want us to be able to go, or what we pictured that they want from the scene. So that would be probably what I would do. The probably 2 techniques in some combination. If you can do them, that would be my number one piece of advice. But let me know if that helps, and I would also love to know if there's anybody in the chat who has any additional advice, because this is very much a thing that people go through, especially there's a lot of bottoms and submissives out there that are people pleasers and want to do what their partners want them to do. I wouldn't know anything about that. That's definitely not me. He says with sarcasm. So I'm right there with you, especially when it's a newer play partner, and like I feel like I maybe don't play as hard. It's actually, this is something I do run into as a content creator. People have expectations in their head about me of what they think I want out of a scene. Like, because even if they don't really follow my content, but they know that I'm an educator and that I make content, they assume for some reason that must mean that I'm an edge player, or that I like really complicated, intense scenes because, well, you've been in the scene for so long and you have this position of authority. And for some reason, people believe that community prominence and time in the scene equals wanting to play harder, which is not necessarily the case. I definitely have weird, complicated motivations of how I mentally process kink and what my emotional relationships are like within kink. But at the same time, that does not necessarily mean I need the most complicated physical scene possible. It means I need people to be able to respect what's going on inside of my head, understand that it's like sometimes it is just brain go burr, feel good, la la la. Like, it's not complicated, but then sometimes it is very mentally complicated, and I like kind of untangling that spaghetti. But people also come in with expectations as tops of like, I've had a more than I would like. I've had a non-zero amount of people tell me at some point in time that they were afraid to approach me for play because they just assumed that I was playing at a level that was like beyond what they would be able to deliver to me as a top. And actually being able to prove to them that like I will say no, and I can read or say mercy or set my limits really firmly, and like describe like last time I was negotiating with somebody, like I described that, you know, I don't need the most intense scene, especially for pickup play with new people. Like I am very happy staying in like a 5 to a 7 zone. Even a 4 to a 7 is totally alright with me. I don't need to have a 10 out of 10 experience every time. Because honestly, if you're playing really hard all the time, like you don't get to do as many scenes. Like if every single time is a 10 out of 10, like that's, you know, will that maybe increase your endurance over time? Sure. But is that like the only goal ever? I don't know. Oh, don't worry. Wifey-led marriage. I'm glad you could make it, and we've just been shooting the breeze. Are they trying to give you content rather than actual fun? I mean, sometimes I wonder about that. I think also people... I have a suspicion about this. I haven't had it actually confirmed. I do wonder how much of it is like, I want to be seen playing with Evie Lupine, me, because that will increase my stock and value as a top, because, ooh, you're able to play with this person. And I've had this happen in like very well-meaning ways from people. Like, I don't think anyone means anything bad by it. Like I've been in the room with people where I'm doing aftercare with somebody, or I'm talking to a top, and like we're negotiating a scene or something. Or maybe walking around with them because they're like going with me to classes or something, and then their friends will approach them, and like, you know, then suddenly they'll realize like who I am, and they'll go, "Oh, are you?" Blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, "Yes, that's me." And then they're like, "Wait, are you two gonna play together?" And it's like, "Yes." And they're like, "Oh my god!" Like they like it. Like I can see physically that it happens that people play with me, and then it impresses other people, and that makes me feel weird. Like I'm not special. I'm a girl who likes study and pack play and rough body play and primal. Like I have like maybe some unusual kinks that I'm into, and I'm very specific about what I'm looking for, but like it's not like, I don't know, people are... I also know a lot of especially for switches, like femme switches who are in the scene that are educators. Oh my god, y'all. If you know a femme switch who's an educator, honestly, don't be afraid to approach them for play. Not in a fangirly way, please, dear God. Not during a class, but like most switchy presenters that I know, or switchy educators or event facilitators, very rarely, especially if they prefer to play with masked people, they will very rarely have people approach them, because most people either exclusively see them in a top role because of their stance or their position in the community, or they assume, oh, well, but they're so-and-so, but they're, they run this event, they own this dungeon, they do this. And even if it's not in that space where they have a role of power and prominence, people just want to approach them. And so they and I think most people that are educators go through this to a certain extent, although I think male tops probably experience this less than other people in a similar position. Like, people just get really intimidated. Like, they just assume that they're not going to be able to live up. They assume that they can't give them the kind of experience they want to have. And they're afraid of being judged. Like, I think if somebody's an educator, this is the part that gets unspoken. But there's a little bit of like, oh, well, because you're a teacher and you're an educator and you're this and you're that, if you play with me, you're gonna like pick apart everything that I do. And you're gonna, something that like maybe a newer bottom or a younger person or somebody who's not an educator, maybe they would let it pass. It's sort of like driving in the car with somebody that you know is a driving instructor and not your like friend that hates driving. Like, if I'm in the car where a driving instructor is in the passenger seat, I'm going to be more nervous about going the speed limit or having my turn signal on than just a random person. So I get it to a certain extent, but you end up in, like, I know a lot of people that are like just dying. Like, they're like, I haven't had a new person try to top me outside of my like long-term partners in like 2 years, and everyone only approaches me for topping because they like don't see me as a bottom. And then it becomes self-perpetuating, because if no one ever sees you bottoming, because no one ever asks you to bottom, then people assume you're only a top, and then the problem just does that, which is kind of a universal switch problem, but I think is even worse when you're layering like power stuff on top of it as well. A little bit can also go a long way, honestly. New people, new energy might be the same play, but people are different enough that it can be a lot of fun. Same thing with polyamory too, right? Like, everyone has a different romantic style, a different way of approaching sex and BDSM. And even if like on paper people are similar, like, it's very, very rare that somebody's going to have the same exact kind of dynamic. Like, you might have partnerships where people are like more obedient or more bratty, or they like different kinds of scenes more, or they have just a different approach to play in general. Like, maybe one person's really into CNC and one person's totally not at all. Like, you can have such different energy person to person that it's almost hard to generalize of like, oh, well, because I'm playing like this intense with this person, therefore an experience that you might be able to offer could like never be as good as that. And also, like, difficulty or intensity does not mean better. Like, I'd way rather have a very energetically connected, fun scene with compatible kinks where we're both feeding off of each other that stays at like a 3, versus an intense scene with no emotional connection that's at like an 8 the entire time. Like, if I want to have an intense scene, like, I know friends that have tasers and cattle prods and branding irons. Like, intensity is not like the difficult thing to achieve in kink, especially if you're open to doing edge play. Yeah. Never thought about that angle. Yeah. I mean, it is like, I'm not saying to go out and necessarily target event producers, but I think it's like a power dynamic thing. And again, a lot of tops and a lot of doms are just like, there's already on a base level, right? Like, I think sometimes the way we talk about like, oh, people, especially like older cis guys will like target, sometimes actually target, but target also as well, like really young new bottoms, right? People between like 18 and like 22. Like, that's kind of the core main demographic that they're always playing with and always going after. And we talk about that as though the reason for doing that exclusively is men like a barely legal teen situation. And sometimes it's that, but also a really big part of it is they're newer, they're easier to impress, they might be more flexible about like what they're willing to try. They haven't been burned by other people before, so maybe they're just purely excited and happy as opposed to more jaded. And they're not going to question me as much, right? They're not, because they don't know as much, they can't question what I'm doing, and they also can't critique what I'm doing and give me critical feedback because they don't know anything yet. So they can't really tell a good flogging from a bad flogging. So it's not just like, I gotta pursue the barely legal teens. Like, there's also like side things to that are a part of age and experience more so than anything else. Maybe being in your position of influence might give this illusion of having near impossible standards, and playing with you is some divine right. I mean, I have occasionally, in the wee hours of the night, I have cursed myself and said, why did I make this my fucking job? Because, like anything, you make your job. Like, if you're a baker and you decide to make baking your job, there's elements of it that lose its luster over time, right? Because then it becomes, you have to be more professional with it, you have to be more cognizant of things. Although maybe if you become a baker as a job, maybe you get more friends who are like, can you bake me a cake for free? Which is not something that really has a kink analog, but is a factor. And yeah, I think for sure that people imagine that I have like impossible standards, but like, I promise I can enjoy it. And part of, there are people out there that are very picky, that know very precisely what they want. And I would say that I'm picky in terms of what I'm looking for from relationships, but I have so many different kinks that I enjoy playing with that it's not like I just need like this exact kind of scene. And most other presenters and educators and people with positions of authority that I know are similar in that it's like, yes, everyone sees me do this one kind of scene, but it's because that's what people approach me for. And so no one ever, like, I hear about this from people who are like known for like electroplay, right? And they're like, I'm not just the electroplay guy. Like, I also like When in Messy Play and Bondage, but no one ever approaches me for that because I'm the electroplay guy. Like, I've talked about this in videos before, people getting like typecasted and people getting treated as merry-go-rounds. And the same is also like happens to bottoms as well, and switches for sure. So, hey, maybe, approach your local switch you see topping a lot. Like, if their profile says that they're a switch, maybe you can, if you get friendly with them, you talk to them a little bit, meet them at a munch, you might be the first person who approaches them in a way where you're interested in topping with them for like the first time in like years. And they're gonna be like, oh my God, thank God, my bottom side has been so unfed. I would love to do something with you. What do you have in mind? Obviously at a time appropriate, place and location. Don't do it when they're in the middle of a class or some shit like that. Yeah. Good evening. Welcome. Well, I hope it was fun. I agree with Evie not feeling bad about safe wording. Yeah. And it was like so fun, being time and I actually want to be a lesbian until a couple of men get overtly physical mean, so I had to safe word. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I think it sounds like you took care of yourself, yeah. Don't make assumptions despite how obvious that may seem. Also, those people might like talking about other things than what they're known for. Yes, yeah. Because, like, just because somebody teaches about something doesn't mean it's, like, their only kink. Like, I have lots of kinks that, like, I don't teach about because I'm not a top. Like, I like rope bondage. I'm not a rope bondage educator. That's not my bag. Yes, yeah. Nathan at least has met me at a dungeon before. Can confirm, am real person. I may be shorter or taller than you expect, but I am real. Although it depends on what boots I'm wearing that day. That might alter my height. And then the boots come off and then I always look shorter than I seem. I'm the hypno dude in my area. I tried to make myself that person, but I also totally didn't want that to be the only thing. Totally get it. Yeah. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful with that stuff. I do know some people where, like, they do have, like, a kink, and that's their thing. And more power to you. If you, like, I have one kink, and that's my kink, fucking go for it, baby. I'm not gonna judge you. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's ever going over your boundaries, that is the time to safe word. You have my permission. I should give people... I've had this idea. I should, like... bring stickers with me places, and then like if somebody tells me like, oh, I respected my own boundaries and I said no, I'm gonna be like, here's a sticker, here's your I respected myself sticker. I also have a funny story, but super chat won't allow. I'll put in a regular comment if you can, Psycho Salad, and I will try my best to catch it and read it out loud. Do you know anyone who takes COVID precautions at kink events? Is a comment. I still wear a mask everywhere. Me. Your girl is I'm still, every time I'm in public, I am always, if I'm anywhere that's not outside, I am wearing a mask. Even if it's with like one person, I am wearing a mask. And even if I'm outside, I'm always at least using a nasal spray. I like Covixol. I've also used Profi before, but I feel like Covixol works better. I am occasionally one of the only maskers at an event. It kind of depends on the community. On the West Coast, I see more people masking. And that is one of the reasons why I like Dark Odyssey events, is because Dark Odyssey events are the only like big convention I know of. There's smaller ones. There's like Unbound, I think is in Colorado, that require some level of masking. But Dark Odyssey requires daily COVID tests for everyone who attends the event. And that's not perfect, but alongside me wearing a mask and also using nasal sprays, that is what makes me feel comfortable going to those events, and they're one of the reasons why I go to those conventions. Similarly, like Kink Fest doesn't require COVID testing or masking. They at least used to do temperature checks, and so I base whether or not I'm going to go to Kink Fest on relative COVID levels. Like there's some years where COVID is like in the middle of a giant spike that year, and then I probably won't go to Kink Fest. Other years it's a lull period just because the time of year it's usually after the winter wave, before the summer wave, and so it's actually a pretty good time of year to take some level of risk where I am just independently masking. But also like camping events. This is like obviously you can still catch COVID outside. You can still catch lots of illnesses outside. Even if it's just like touch surfaces, you can get stuff like strep throat and things from touch surfaces. But it reduces the risk, and that makes like one-way masking a little bit more feasible as a reduction of risk. So yes, I am I'll put the nasal spray names in the chat. You can get Covixel, you generally have to buy from the website now, but Profi you can get on Amazon. And let's see, Covixel. Covixel you can get at Albertsons and Safeway in person. And you can also buy it on Target. You can buy it on the Target website as well. But I like both of those. I will say, if you have a sensitive nose, Covixel feels and tastes like putting a shot of chai up your nose. So if you don't like, if nasal burning sensations would be, if you maybe feel a piercing or something in your nose, I probably wouldn't recommend Covixel. Profi is essentially like, it's sort of, how do I describe what it is? It basically creates a layer in the inside of your nasal cavity that makes it so virus particles can't attach to the lining inside of your nose. So it doesn't really, it has kind of like a slightly, it's not spicy or tingly at all. It's like a slightly kind of cooling aloe cucumber flavor / scent to it. But really, like, you don't notice it's there, like, very quickly. But I think Covixel works a little bit better. That's just my preference, and I find the bottles last for longer. How many years have you had COVID there? I've had it twice. And the last time the first time I got it at a kink party, a private kink party, right after the vaccines came out, where everyone was supposed to be like, and it was in the time period when the public messaging about COVID was, you can't really transmit COVID if you've had like your full vaccinations. Well, that turned out to be a fucking lie. And no one was testing, but everyone had their full vaccinations. But this was right during the Omicron, right when Omicron came out, or maybe Delta. It was like right when that really, really huge wave happened. That was when I got it the first time. And then the second time that I got it was right before Kink Fest this past year. And then when I got that, it was because I got it from a one-on-one interaction with somebody that it's normally in my risk profile to see them one-on-one, and they weren't having any symptoms at the time that I saw them, and then they started to have symptoms the next day, and then I did too, and then, we both had COVID, and that sucked. But I have not gotten, knock on wood, I've never gotten COVID from a large event. I've always gotten it from like private interactions or maskless settings. I've never, it'll always happen, but I've never gotten sick of any kind after an event because of the precautions I take. I don't have to deal with con crud, which is honestly awesome. Makes it less likely to still possible to get it with a nasal spray. It's certainly not foolproof, but with a mask, it's a good precaution. Yeah, it's not foolproof if you're somebody who like absolutely cannot wear a mask. I feel like it's a good backup method, and I like it because when you're wearing a mask for if I'm going to a convention, I'm sometimes in a mask. Because I'm very strict about keeping it on. I wait to eat and drink until like I'm outside or I'm in my like private room. Sometimes I have a mask on, especially if I'm teaching. I might have a mask on for like 6+ hours straight. And so just because there's always a possibility of some leakage somewhere, or maybe my like nose gets really runny and I absolutely have to like take my mask off to like wipe my nose. Like there's just like a little bit of an extra layer of protection for when those moments happen, because I'm not wearing a full-on respirator. Gives me a little bit of peace of mind for sure. But I would like, I know talking about COVID, it's like not a popular subject for people, and I am a very big advocate for protecting the members of our community that have disabilities and are immunocompromised. I have many people in my life who are some flavor of immunocompromised, or have some other complicating factors that if they got COVID, it would potentially make them very sick for a very long period of time. I also already have long COVID. I'm trying not to get worse long COVID again. Especially with the way the healthcare is going in America, not in my risk profile, especially as like a self-employed person, to have to deal with that. So I take my precautions, and I think, why take additional risks on getting sick? We don't have to, because who wants to go to a really nice convention and then have con crud for like the week afterwards, or get the flu or something, and miss even more work. Oh yeah, lots of people don't know when they have COVID because it's very oftentimes asymptomatic. Yeah, if you can keep it at 1, it definitely reduces your risk. But also most people don't test for COVID, so people think that they're sick with something else and they actually have COVID, but they don't realize it. But yeah, that's my answer on that. But I'm very happy to be like the person who, in public, is the like COVID masker, because every single time I'm at a party or an event and I'm wearing my mask, I always have at least like a handful to like a dozen people ask me about my mask and where I got it. And I get so many people who tell me like, like my partner's immunocompromised, or my friend's immunocompromised, and they like couldn't go to this event because of whatever reason, like they didn't have a good enough mask, and like, do you like your mask? Where'd you get it from? And I'm more than happy to talk to people about the way that I mask and give people those recommendations, because like it makes our community more accessible, and gotta protect our own people, you know what I mean? Okay, I'm going to get to masking is hot, honestly. I mean, more people should have a mask fetish. Yeah. Actually, I got, I don't know what the right term for it is. I got a, like a balaclava, like not a balaclava because it didn't go over the rest of my face, but like a mask, like a pullover mask, like a gaiter, I guess would probably be the term for it. I got a gaiter that goes over my nose and down my neck to like cover my mask when I'm wearing it. So hopefully it'll seem more sexy and mysterious as opposed to like something that's like very obviously a mask. Now it looks like I'm, just trying to not be identifiable, in photos or something. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, COVID is definitely something that spreads at conventions, as do lots of illnesses, thus the term a con crud. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to look for questions. I don't mind masking at all. I know lots of people are like, oh my god, masking's so annoying. I don't care. I like not being sick because I'm self-employed, so I am planning a mask for... unless we get really good nasal spray technology, which is doubtful considering the way that the FDA is going. I'm going to keep masking because I just I just feel like it's like not even just a COVID thing. Like, it's just a general airborne illness prevention thing. Like, why not? Asian countries do it. Why can't I? Like, it's not weird other places. Anyway, Psycho Salad. Okay, I have to use euphemisms. Oh, I see. My dom got my first cage for Male Anatomy, chastity cage, but it pushes off when I get hard. So it like sproings out. We have solutions. Don't worry. It's just funny. You can't keep me down, mortal. My dom talking to me makes it very difficult to get it on too. Suffering from success. Truly suffering from success. That's very funny. Yeah. There's a couple people in this chat who could probably give you advice about finding better cages, if that's of interest to you, finding ones that maybe fit a little bit better. Because actually, What's a Safe Word has had a sponsorship a couple times from a company that makes like interchangeable custom-sized devices for that purpose, where maybe you just have a disparity that's unusual between like your like soft tissue size of like the shaft and the head or balls or whatever. I don't know exactly what all the fitting properties are for a chastity device. But, you know, if you have one that maybe doesn't quite work with the standard size off the rack, you might want to like mix and match stuff to find something that's going to work better for you so it doesn't spring off and like get stuck somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, not having the flu all the time is fucking dork, is fucking dope, yeah. Yeah. I listen, I love protecting autistic people. Okay, oh my god, okay. Every day, not every day, I feel like every week I'm like more convinced that everyone that I know is so, at least everyone that I date, I think is somewhere on the autism spectrum. So I currently have like so many, what would that be called if it's like AUDHD, like ADHD, like ODHD? What do you call it when it's like a combination of like autism and ADHD? I don't know if my partners tell me the last time that I saw them, and I feel like this is like, oh my god, tell me if you're autistic and you're in the chat. Let me know if this is relatable. Okay, they've told me two things that made me completely sure. I'm like, we should get an evaluation. It's one, they told me that talking to other people is playing a social game where you try to go for as long as possible, not messing up or accidentally being awkward in a conversation. And the longer you can go without breaking the social rules, the more that you win at having conversations. I was like, I don't think that's how neurotypical people think about talking to other humans. And then the other, I know, but how do you pronounce it? Like, is it O? Do you make like an ah sound? Like, DHD? Like that, something about that doesn't sound right to me. And then the other thing that they told me, while trying to give me a compliment, is they told me I had smooth muscles like a dolphin. I'm like, that is adorable. Thank you so much for telling me I have smooth muscles like a dolphin. It's the most earnest compliment I think I've ever gotten in my life. It was so funny. And I just feel like that's the kind of compliment that I get from people in my life that I know for sure are autistic. Oh, okay. ADHD. Oh, Audi. Okay. There we go. Yeah. That would work on me. Yeah, this tracks. I mean, there's so much overlap between like certain aspects of autism and certain aspects of ADHD that like it makes sense. You know, it's also, they also just have a lot of comorbid things that are like in the cluster of, you know, when something else in your brain isn't working, this kind of seems to knock on to other things. Yeah, most unique compliment, truly is. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta workshop how to say that out loud. Yeah, you're totally welcome, Cody. Thanks for, like Audi? Oh, like the car? Yeah. Being cringe is less cringe than people think. True. All about dolphin pet play. Oh my god, I could make a video about like marine pet play. Oh, that would be funny. I think the more likely outcome is that I just talk about like autism and kink. I think that's probably a more likely thing, because you know, that's a resource that also needs to happen, because like I talked about with ADHD and kink, Like all the resources online for being a partner of somebody who's neurodivergent is like, isn't it sucks to date somebody who's neurodivergent, doesn't have a regular good brain that works right? I mean, we all know that it sucks, but like, what if you made it suck less? Like, and people just talk about it in like the weirdest possible terms. I'm trying to figure out where my dog is so I can like put her on the camera. Like, where did she go? That's my dog. Disappeared. Is she? Oh, she's in the sea. I'm gonna fix it. Also, that is a self-portrait on the wall. It's not a self-portrait, but it kind of looks like one, doesn't it? All right. Finding... Look at this. She's in her little secret spot. Secret reserved bandit location. Adorable. Earnesty? Being earnest is the best thing ever. I love it. I mean, it's people that aren't neurodivergent. I know. But yeah, people are like, doesn't it just suck when your partner's brain doesn't work correctly? And it's like the most like, oh, or don't you just have to suffer to deign to be with someone like this? And it's like, why are we talking about, like, just if you feel this way about a person, just don't date them. So annoying. Oh my God. Oh, I did not see your super chat, Sean. I will look at it. Thank you. I'll wrap up this thought and then we'll get back to that one. Yes. Yeah, I think I was busy being on a tear. Yeah. Oh God, I accidentally found a thread at r/ADHD partner and nope right out. I mean, God, I would don't look at that. Yeah. See, PTSD and kink could be another topic. Neurodivergence. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely one that's worth covering. I'm crying when the glass is hit by the metal. That sounds just piercing. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope it's not too loud here. I'll be careful. I'm putting it really far away from the microphone now. There we go. Yeah. The official color is gold. Or you know. Okay. All right. I'm going to. Hopefully, it should just. Let's see, viewer activity. Oh, here we go. I'm going to a school-based role-play party as a student tomorrow. Should I brat or be a good student? Any advice or suggestions? I feel like it might mostly be brats. So I feel like if you're looking to be unique, I think being an obedient student is probably going to be less likely, but I would say do what sounds the most fun for you. You might want to just wait until you're in person and feeling the energy to make a decision about how you want to act, because it might depend on the vibes. But, you know, if you're a good student or bratty, both are equally valid. Do what feels right to you. Any advice or suggestions? Make sure your clothing is ironed. Make sure your clothing is ironed. Make sure your shoes are in good order. Don't overlook the fine details. That kind of thing. I think will go a long way to impressing people. Don't really just like unpackage the thing from Amazon like 10 seconds ago. I think that's probably the best technique. I haven't been to like a school roleplay party before, so I can't really speak to any sort of experience about what you might expect or like what it might look like. But yeah, just use it as an opportunity maybe to explore a couple different roles, because also you don't have to just be one thing the entire night, I imagine. So you might even use it as an opportunity to experiment maybe being obedient and then getting like corrupted by like the cool kids at school. You can come up with like fun dynamics like that where like maybe you start out being like you're really a goody two shoes, and then the bad crowd like lures you in and you smoke cigarettes in the bathroom, and then you become a brat. Or maybe you're a brat initially, and then you do a scene with the mean school marm, and they rap your knuckles and have you write lines, and then you're good and obedient for the rest of the night, and then you're like, oh, I'm scared. I can't break the rules anymore because otherwise so and so is going to beat me up. Like, you can also have a way to like play around with different dynamics across the evening too. But yeah, good question. Have fun and good luck. Sounds like an interesting time. I always think on the Vulcan idea of IDIC, infinite diversity, infinite combinations. I've never heard of that before, but I do like it. Me and my partner are not neurotypical. We thrive together. LOL. Yeah, it's it's like, you know, neurodivergent people dating other neurodivergent people. I think generally works out a little bit better. Hey, executive function must be awesome. I can see why not having it would annoy people. Personally, I'm doomed anyway. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think there's sort of like, oh, understanding your partner's limitations, but like not just only framing it as like a burden to you personally, because like obviously the lack of executive function is going to probably suck more for the person with a lack of executive function than like you as a person experiencing somebody without it, right? Utterly shocked the person with the username egg with an egg profile picture. Don't you forget it. Is it neurotypical guest? I know what Vulcans are. I know Star Trek stuff. I just haven't heard that particular phrase before. I'm not sure where it's from. Ooh, but altering pants. Ooh, good luck. That's a hard one. Finding pants that fit, I feel like, is like the primo, like, female experience. Like, finding pantaloons that will fit your body. I actually have that problem more with shorts than with pants. Pants, I have like 3 pairs, and I'm like, good, no more pants. That's the complete number of pants I need. 1 plain, regular skinny jean. 1 ripped skinny jean. 1 very wide leg ripped pant. Those are the 3 pants you need. Shorts, I cannot find a single pair of shorts that fit properly. They're too long, or they're way too short, or they're way too big in the waist despite being my waist size. Like, it's bizarre. I don't know what's up with that. I've bought like 3, at this point I bought 3 pairs of size 25 shorts, and none of them have fit me. They're all too big, even though I own 3 pairs of size 25 pants that all fit me. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't logically make sense. What is happening here? I embrace my egg-like nature. Good for you. Good stuff. Pantaloons. Yes. If a duck wore pants, how would the duck wear pants? Shorts look awful on me. I have bike shorts I wear under short dresses. Pro move. Anything besides that looks bad on me. Yeah, I think shorts are definitely... Finding flattering shorts, especially jean shorts, is a task. For sure. Same with rompers. Yeah, rompers. I like a good capri pant. A cute little capri pant is adorable. Papalina's on the move. I love having the bandit camera because it's kind of like having a camera at the zoo on like the panda exhibit. Always sleepy, always laying around, always looking cute with a little toe bean somewhere. I'm 6 feet tall on most of its legs. I mean, yeah, there's places you can get like longer inseams. I think Reformation and is it Abercrombie? There's one of their like really big mainstream band, maybe it's American Eagle, has like longer length inseam. So you can get something that'll fit longer. They have like a 34-inch inseam. Jorts, yeah. Exactly. She's my little puppy. I do call her Buppy because it's Bandita and Puppy put together. Or Bandolina, which is like Pobrecita and Bandit and Puppy all sort of also mixed together. This has got a lot of words though, all mixed together into one super nickname. Yeah, capri pants are clutch. Yeah. Alrighty. I'm gonna go back to some questions. Remember that I answer questions in order, so I'll try my best to get to everybody's question, but if you would like to skip to the front of the line, you must pay the toll. The troll toll. You must pay. Crack myself up. You must pay the toll of a super chat. Any dollar amount, doesn't matter. Just a super chat in general will do. And then you'll skip to the front of the line. But otherwise, I go in order. So, prepare for that. All right, more questions. And thank you all so much for being here. Hi, Jack, coming to you from a very dead dungeon front desk. Glad you could check in. Hope the evening is going well. Ooh, double layered chocolate cake does fix a lot of problems. I'm a pudding person as like a go-to. I like, if I need something quick as like a little snacky snack, pudding is a good one. Yeah, be respectful. Love how decolonizing love comes off as the made-up image of an SJW in the 2010s. I mean, they would have been very successful on Tumblr. I will say that. I actually would love to know if at some point they had a Tumblr. That would be some like mega lore right there. That would be crazy to unearth that if they had a Tumblr. I really like your video on trad wives. Thank you. I guess I did have like 2 really back-to-back, like kind of big, intense videos that were a lot. But I am planning on doing this is like, okay, I'm going to space these out and do maybe like one of them once a month because they are just so much higher in production intensity that I don't think I could do them more frequently than that, in addition to doing other videos. So I'm planning on doing a like, why does everyone hate polyamory video, a deep dive on trad wives, and a follow-up video going over decolonizing love's kink misinformation in lots of detail. Like, what the fuck is claiming that shibari came from Hojo Jutsu? I literally just took a class about this from Midori yesterday. She is from Japan. She has practiced shibari in Japan. She has been around for essentially the entire modern creation of shibari as the popular art form it currently is today. She's very tapped in on the history from both an American and a Japanese native perspective. And suffice to say, the trip between police restraint and modern shibari is not very clear-cut. It is not one-to-one, and especially making any comparisons to the fascist imperial regime of Japan in the mid-20th century is very far-fetched. The advent of modern shibari started like a full decade or 2 before that government came into power. So trying to make it seem like, oh, it got popular because of fascism is like completely misinformation, not correct. Talking about like primal play, their opinions about DS and things like that, and also sort of the BDSM's like whips and chains stuff. Because again, like as we all know, right, many aspects of kink have nothing to do with pain or physical restraint or domination. You can do a scene essentially that is egalitarian, that's just about sensations, even like body painting or massage or cupping or role play stuff that's has nothing to do directly with any kind of suffering. But also suffering in and of itself is not necessarily bad. And I feel like you would know that if you're approaching things from an indigenous perspective, where intense bodily sensations are not necessarily something to be avoided at all costs, and in fact can be a transformational and beneficial experience. But, you know, I guess maybe that's a little bit too much to expect. So I am planning on doing all those things. I have scattered notes about all 3 of these topics in various documents that I will compile at some point in the future. Cat Black also might be making a video about this, by the way, if you want to see more information from a different perspective. So that's all going to be in the pipeline in case anyone wanted to know about that specifically. We're going to be following it up. But with Decolonizing Love, as expected, they have not named me directly in any of their content. Apparently they didn't watch my video, and they've been like Facebooking about it for like 2 straight days. They've been vague booking about what they think is in my video, while also admitting that they not only haven't watched it, but that they never watched any video-based content about them from anybody ever. And so they've been responding to what they hallucinate is in my video that's not there. Like, so to clarify, in case anyone's seen what they've been saying on Facebook, I never asked anybody to unfollow Decolonizing Love. I would not ask that. I am asking people to make their own individual assessments and then choose for themselves based on their preferences and their values what to do about their relationship with Decolonizing Love's content based on their own individual assessment of what they value and what they would like to see in content creators. 2, I never said that Millie said that every serial killer is into BDSM or anything like that. I was very clear in the video itself that I showed that somebody who, and I said verbally in the video and showed on screen, that somebody that Decolonizing Love has promoted and followed and commented in support of said that. And that kind of promoting that kind of content from people who say stuff like that contributes to creating an overall environment on their page of kink negativity, even if it's an actions versus words thing. If somebody is saying, oh, well, we're not telling anybody to not do kink, we're not kink shaming anybody, but through promoting people who have ideas like that or who share ideas like that in your content, even if it's not coming from you directly, that contributes to a chilling effect on your page more generally from kinky people who then might not feel comfortable being in your space. So those are kind of the two big things that I've seen Decolonizing Love assume is in my content that is not in it, just in case you were wondering about that. And then I've had many comments from people, like at least a dozen, of people telling me, oh, I used to follow Decolonizing Love, and then I liked somebody's comment on a different page, like, Decolonizing Love blocked me because I liked a comment on somebody else's Instagram account. Or I asked Decolonizing Love about their stance on AI, and then they DM'd me to harass me about my questioning of their AI policies. Like, just like really petty stuff. I'm like, how do you have time to do this, miss? I'm starring in 80 different Hollywood productions all the goddamn time. Like, are you ever offline at any point in history? Ooh, Mrs. started testing me with my future eternity cuff when I'm in bondage. The weight is unbearable. Send help. I don't know if there's a way I can help with that, Mr. Beansman. Good luck. I believe the suffering may be the point. But I empathetically, I am, as a fellow bottom and S-type, I empathize with your experience. I understand what you're going through, and I feel that. The teasing, I suspect, is intentional. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't suck. Seems to me like they're doing the grifter thing or trying to cultivate that kind of thing, but for kink, see a lot of similar tactics with health influencers and right-wing grifters, yeah. It's like they've copied, like, with the shibari thing, right? They don't know anything about shibari. They've never done shibari, they've never done rope bondage, at least based on the information that they've shared so far in public. They probably had AI write at least some of that stuff, or they had AI assistance with writing their article, and also they took photos from a book that they read. Like, they read one book and then regurgitated it in a post and then said, I know about shibari because I'm so big in my brain and I'm so smart and I am hyperlexic and therefore I understand books even more than the average person. Like, the overall way that they talk about their own intelligence is, like, very indicative of, like, their intelligence is their sense of self. And my psychoanalytical brain, right, non-professional psychoanalysis brain, tells me that their sense of self is very much tied to their intelligence and their ability to analyze things and sound smart around other people and be perceived as smart by other people. So in order to do that, they will find ways to sound authoritative. Maybe that authority hasn't actually been earned, i.e. talking about bondage when they've maybe only seen it in person a couple of times, have never done it themselves, don't even really know what the terminology is or any of the details about it. And then they write a post and other people say, wow, this is so informational, this is so great, amazing, awesome. But then they don't know anything either, so they don't even know that they're being told misinformation, and it's all very unfortunate is what I would say. Just very unfortunate. It just, yeah. Are your posts showing up? Well, I don't know. Are your comments in this live stream? I don't know. Depends. You have to scroll back and see. But yeah, I've just heard a lot of, like, more problematic things from other people. I've heard somebody told me that they unfollowed them when they saw that Decolonizing Love had said that having your womb exposed to a person's DNA can impact the epigenetics of your future children. Does that not sound like some incel roast beef type terminology to you? Like, that's what incels say about why it's important to marry a virgin, because if your wife has fucked too many, let's be honest, black men specifically, she might have a child that has secret black DNA in it. and will sully your pure white genes, like some real racist incel type shit. Like it's that kind of logic, which is horrifying that would even be perpetuated anyway. That's completely unscientific. I also noticed in general, but I didn't point this out in the video because I didn't realize it at the time, but I think is really true. I don't know of any time in any of Decolonizing Lab's content where they have ever cited an academic study for anything. They've cited a lot of books. I don't think they've ever cited an academic study for anything. And even if it's happened occasionally, it is far from the backbone of their content. And there's not a lot of academic research about polyamory or kink, but there is some, like enough to make some general assessments on, like, you know, like relative happiness in relationships, life satisfaction. Like there's some basic psychological research that's happened, but they don't use anything like that. And honestly, I think it's because they have an English degree. I don't know about English degrees in general because I don't have an English degree. I don't have a liberal arts degree. I come from kind of a mixed academic background, like what kind of term would I use for it? I would say I come from like an interdisciplinary study background, you know, from my academic career. So I learned about research methods. I learned about both like literature and like those kinds of citations. And I also learned about academic research and citing that and being able to cite studies and review them for things like p-hacking and being able to discern, is this like a study that's like of somewhat reasonable quality? Like I learned the basics of that stuff in the program that I was in, but Millie never cites an academic study for anything. And I think the fact that they both lord their academic credentials over other people and then also like don't ever cite academic research is really interesting. And I think that speaks to a gap that they have in sort of their, you know, for somebody who has a really big brain, you think they you know, care about studies a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know what Collective Shout is, but I would say that I don't know if they're radical conservatives. I would say Decolonizing Love are like liberals who think that they're radical. Is like they have radical politics in one very narrow vein, but I don't think that they're like across the board, like particularly like radical people, if that makes sense. Like in my circles, they would not be considered radical or even really that left wing, right? Because of the way that they've talked about Palestine, the way that they talk about like violence in politics and just the kinds of stuff that they focus on. Most people I know would not. They're, again, radical in very one narrow specific way, but not as like an overall part of their worldview, right? Like if you own an Airbnb, I don't think that you're, I think there's a limit to how radical you can be politically if you own like rental space in Toronto. Female submissives can be trustworthy. Anyone can be trustworthy. Anyone can be non-trustworthy. It's an individual thing. I mean, women do be shopping, right? Horseshoe theory is real, but only in the case of puritanical radfems and puritanical dragcons. Yeah, the radfem part of it, I think, is probably their most like lived up opinion. Like being like vehemently anti-sex work to the point of like, I think this is like, I think for anti-academic research, like maybe this is why you have some of the opinions you have. Like believing wholeheartedly that there was no sex work in any society ever until the introduction of Western capitalism and colonialism is like kind of wild and also like not scientifically backed at all. Like, cause that's just like objectively not a true fact. But you can, if you're just operating from your principles of what you believe is correct about the world, you can make that judgment call, but it doesn't mean that it's true. Doesn't mean that it's real at all. Yeah. I think it's realistically about how if you're thoroughly self-assured in your own virtue, you end up with a blind spot about your own biases and potential for harm. Yeah, exactly. Alrighty. I'm turning up my fan here because I think it's getting a little toasty. And I'm gonna go back to some more questions. Me and my online BDSM / non-monogamy community here in Brazil are keeping up with the decolonizing love discussion and debating a lot of important things from it. Oh, good. I'm glad that you're turning it into an opportunity for discussing things, because I'm sure that decolonizing conversations are, like, I would hope, some level of a prominent thing in Brazil. I recently had my first pet play scene, and it was great. There's some stuff we talked about doing better in a debrief, but all around it felt very safe and fun. Thank you for all the advice you give. Oh, you're so welcome, Oliver. That is super fun. Thank you for sharing. With my slub / people I've played with, when they safe word, I tell them thank you for safe wording. After we get whatever they safe worded for fixed, it seems to help them not feel as guilty or sad or bad. Yes. Yeah. Always saying thanks for somebody doing something hard, like using a safe word, as a default response, I think is very appropriate. Oh, now I made my fan too quiet. There we go. That's better. Excited for this weekend. Kink / warehouse dance party. Ooh, fun. All Saturday night, and going to a new rope dojo for the first time on Sunday for a workshop and open practice. That sounds like a great way to spend the weekend. I'm going to be picking peaches. I'm going to be doing wholesome stuff. Last week I made pickles. This week I'm going to pick peaches. Just doing everything with P names, apparently. Don't know what that's about. Guess that's a letter of the month. Who's a P? I was trying to give you... oh, I already read that one already. Try to set your own limits at a spanking speed dating event. I bowed out of round 2 because I was done. Did I feel bad? A bit. Was it a good thing to do? Oh, yes. Yeah. Ooh. Good question from Cody. Evie, I'm in the process of opening a 20-year relationship that started when my wife and I were 13. Oh, you're like middle school sweethearts. Okay. You've been already together for a long time. Okay. Our goal is E&M / poly. I'm looking for dating advice for a straight white guy in his 30s who's new to the scene and has been learning and doing the work to open up for the last 8 years. Okay, so you've had 8 years of like reading about this and learning. You might have your feet more under you than other people do at this stage. Because you functionally have no adult dating experience or even like teen dating experience aside of your spouse, it's going to be so different than, what it was like when you were in 8th grade. I think that's really adorable, by the way. I'm not laughing at that. Like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. But like, it's not common for people to have, you're coming into it essentially like you've never dated anyone else before. I would take things slow. I think the best way to get started is on, like, you can watch my videos where I've talked about, like, how to use dating apps and, like, just what to know about them. For non-monogamy, I really recommend Field and OkCupid and Hinge as well. And which one of those 3 works the best for you is going to be location dependent. So I would start on, like, one of the dating apps and then focus on that for, like, a couple weeks, like a month or 2, and then try out one of the other ones. And before you even get to that stage, have really clear boundaries or expectation setting with your partner about communication around talking to people on dating apps. In my relationships, there's no sort of agreement or expectation of talking about, like, when you're talking to somebody on a dating app or, like, when you match with somebody, like, that's just too much oversight. However, when it gets to the point of setting up a date, it's preferable, it's not a rule or anything, but it's considered a good courtesy generally to inform people when you're going on a date with somebody. And then when you get into actually developing a relationship with somebody or potentially introducing sex into the relationship, then that's that's a risk change. That's a change to your status. And then that should be communicated based on the agreements that I have in my relationships. But I think you're likely really going to have to baby step this. And so it's really, really good to set up expectations with your spouse ahead of time of when you're going to communicate, what you're going to communicate, how soon you're communicating things, right? Like when you match with somebody, when you set up a date, where you're going. And your spouse or you, depending on sort of who gets dates first, you're going to have different reactions. Some people are going to like shut down and not want to hear anything at all and kind of want to go, la, 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 don't tell me anything. And other people are they're going to want to know every piece of information because they're trying to compare themselves to your new person. They're going to want to see pictures. They're going to want to see their profile. They're going to know all the details of where you're going your day, how long you're going to be there. They're going to want the complete and full total rundown. And the best thing that I can say about that is that's both responses are totally understandable. However, I don't think either extreme is particularly healthy long term. And I recommend adopting a stance of essentially like, what have I called this before? I came up with a term for this like a couple weeks ago. Like indifferent benevolence. Like not like you want to take the information in and not run away with it, but not pathologically try to read out every single tiny detail. And there's a balance in the middle between being invasive and kind of violating the other person's expectation of privacy and not hearing anything because you can't tolerate any kind of details whatsoever. And striking that middle ground, I think, is a delicate balance, but I think it is something that needs to happen, and setting up clear expectations for communication ahead of time will give your partner processing time to figure out what those steps look like and give you room so that way, like the first time you go on a date, there's not like a total meltdown about like, why didn't you give me enough notice, or like, why didn't you tell me you matched with somebody? Because we already talked about all that stuff. I think probably getting your partner comfortable with it is going to be the biggest hurdle, just because you've only really biblically known each other. And so that's going to be probably where most of your focus is going to be at, because until you actually start dating, you can read all you want, you can go through the blogs, you can write down a relationship agreement, you can mentally prepare yourself as much as you want, but when the rubber meets the road, when you're really actually doing the dang thing and going on a date and talking to other people, that's when you really get tested emotionally, even if you mentally become comfortable with the idea of doing it. The process of opening up is still an emotional hurdle that, again, when you've been together for 20 years, that's going to be a lot. And also setting up expectations around texting communication. A lot of people who get into new relationship energy without setting boundaries on this stuff first, you end up in situations where if somebody is really available and likes text conversations, it's really easy to get drawn into talking to that person a lot, even when you're with your partner, because you've been together for a really long time. You're probably not having really active conversations with your spouse every single time that you see them, or when you're at dinner or on the couch together or doing whatever. And it's really tempting just to be like, oh, well, I'm on the couch with my partner, or we're in bed, before going to sleep. Why don't I text so-and-so? And I think getting to a place of comfort with that is a necessity at some point, but don't do it all the time. Make sure you still have intentional, mindful time with your spouse. Because if every single time you're around them, you're focused on your phone, that's going to be a no-no. It's not going to be good for your relationship, not a good setup. So set expectations around communication with people, having mindful time with your partner, and not just only getting sucked into the new relationship and only paying attention to that. And actually, that's one of the things that can make it easier to have more intentional time with your existing partner, is opening up, because then you realize, hey, actually, I wish that we had more of that and we're not doing it. So that can actually be a side benefit of motivating you into doing something that maybe you've fell by the wayside on for a while. But yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I would say on top of that? Be careful. The other thing too is when you're dating, try, there's sort of two other things I'd say in general that are good to avoid, is avoiding triangulation and avoiding making comparisons, even when you think they're positive, between your partner and other potential partners or other new partners, right? So I have heard a lot of people make big emotional slip-ups, especially early on to a new connection, where they try to placate their partner or help them feel more comfortable by making comparisons about like people's body types or their ability to orgasm or their height or hair color, the features that they find attractive about their partner. And they'll say, oh, well, I mean, you know, so-and-so is blonde, but, you know, I always prefer your dark hair, honey. Like, talking in comparative ways like that, even if you mean it positively towards the other person, is still putting it in your partner's head that they are comparing you to their other partners and that you are being judged in relation to other people. And so therefore there must be something about you that is lesser compared to other people. So don't make comments like that. That's a private little inside thought. You can just tell your partner that you like their hair or that you like whatever part of their body. You don't have to do it in the framework of a comparison to somebody else. Eventually, when you develop a level of comfort and you have rapport in E&M, you can get into that, but it's not that's not a beginner's technique. Because even if it's meant in a positive way, like, oh my God, like I've had this happen to me. Your girl is not exactly the bustiest lady on planet Earth, right? All right. You know, I'm rocking my 32A bra. I don't care. It is what it is. Listen, God did not give me, God said rectangle. We're making rectangles now. That's what God said. God put me on the conveyor belt and I was, guess we're making rectangles now. That was me. And so I don't really have, at this point in my life, I have had partners in the past, that have, one, made unfavorable comments about my body shape, or have, in various levels of subtlety, told me that they would completely support me if I wanted to get a breast enhancement surgery, or a fat transfer, or implants, or something along those lines. And that was not good for my self-esteem. But I've also had people make comparisons with their other partners in ways that have not always, they've meant it in a kind way, but especially for a new person to E&M, I imagine that would be uncomfortable. Like, they might have a partner who has way bigger tits than me, and they might say something about how, oh, well, so-and-so has really big tits, but I like your small tits too. And it's like, you could have just complimented me and then not made it a comparison. And like, do they mean it in a nice way? Yes, but then it's still now they put the thought in your head. They put the seed in there, and you don't put the seeds in there. Don't put that thought of comparison in somebody's head. And the other thing is triangulation, right? So, having communication about your new partners to other partners is something that's going to happen. But if you are having an argument with partner A, don't do all of your venting to partner B. Like, don't make partner B an ally against partner A, right? Don't put them in opposition with each other, because then that's going to just make future communication really contentious, because then they're only seeing, or primarily seeing, oh, well, I know you have this, that, and the other relationship problem, or this disagreement, or you were stubborn about this, or you offended them when you said that. And so now what I primarily know about you as a metamor are all these negative things. And then also some things that apparently make you hotter than me. If you put those two things together, here's a list of ways that you're superior to me, and then here's a list of ways that you've hurt my partner's feelings. That is going to be so toxic to having a healthy metamor relationship dynamic. So please just don't go there. I imagine if you have a really long-term spouse, they're going to also be your best friend in a lot of ways, and so you might want to vent to them. In a longer term E&M relationship where you have more experience and your partner can kind of silo off and put in a certain framework, oh, I understand this partner is venting to me, so I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt in terms of how I let that affect my perception of the other person they're talking about. But when you're new and you're feeling insecure, there's a strong desire to align yourself against this other person because, oh, my partner's complaining about this thing they said that was bad or uncomfortable, or thing that they did that hurt their feelings, and so now I'm seeing them like a bad person because I'm supporting my partner, and I'm wanting to say oh yeah, that person sucks. If you're always in oh yeah, that person sucks place and they're your metamor, that's not going to work out. So just be careful about that. And then if you can navigate all of that, I think those are really the top line things to worry about. But I'm sure there's more that I could probably give advice on, but those are the top deals. I think it's fine to make objective statements, just like don't attach a value to those statements. Traits are parts of the whole for me, so it's all just idiosyncrasies of people and bodies I like. I mean, again, I think, if you're making any comparison to a person, I feel like it's very masculine brain to be like, but honey, I'm just being objective about it. Like, some people can hear that and understand that it's objective. A lot of people are going to attach value to that, even if you are not putting value onto it. Especially early in E&M, when there's more likelihood of being jealous or having insecurity. Even if you tell your existing partner, maybe your existing partner has really short hair, and then the new person you're dating, if you tell them, oh yeah, so and so has like really beautiful long hair, they might interpret that as like, they prefer long, beautiful hair, and they're trying to communicate a preference to me. And that's not really necessarily on you entirely for communicating that. But like, is it information that needs to be shared? If somebody asks, like, oh, what do you like about so-and-so? That's the time to invite that information. Or what do they look like? That's time where that information has been invited. If you start rambling about all the ways that your other partner is really beautiful because you're in full-on new relationship energy mode and you just want to talk about and gush about this new person, people are probably going to attach value to that even if you're not overtly putting it on there. So you need to be careful when you approach that. Yeah. It's not objective if you're saying you like X's features more than Y's because of reason. Yeah, because of reason pi. Yeah, it's or phi, I guess probably. Yeah, you got to be careful. Got to be careful with the comparisons. Wow, just be grateful to get to see certain people naked already. Wow. Hey, listen, some people are just real picky with their body type. Honestly, I feel like elder millennial and young Gen X men are the worst for that. Like, if you were born in, like, the mid-'80s to, like, late 80s, I feel like you were the most indoctrinated with, like, ultra, super, super skinny supermodel propaganda. And at least in my experience in dating, it's men that are in that age bracket that tend to have the most narrow body preferences. And they're the most likely to tell you things about your body that they don't like. And be like, but honey, I just thought you'd want to know that I didn't like this thing about you. It's like, well, if you didn't like it about me, why did you, like, whether it's the dress or the hairstyle or the hair color or the body shape or the whatever, like, the fuck? Like, it's just so dumb. And, like, younger men that I've been with have not had as much of a problem with that. Older men I've been with have not had as much of a problem with that. It's something about the mid to late 80s and then having young adulthood and teenage years in the 90s and the very early aughts where it's like, oh, like, you saw the magazines that said a size 4 was fat for, like, your entire developmental period. And that does numbers on people's perception of what is attractive or not. In my humble, unscientific opinion. Yeah. Such good advice. I'm in my first poly relationship and I get nervous thinking about us finding other partners, but I know our communication and trust make it work. Used to have 3 partners, now it's just us 2, lol, so I haven't opened up our relationship besides the pre-existing partners. Yeah. I feel like people overlook poly fidelity as an option. I think that's a really good way of doing it. I think that should be more of an option for folks. I'm glad I never fell for the propaganda. Yeah. Heroin chic was big during the 90s. Yep. Yeah. Big thing that across just like all, like, whether it was alternative people or supermodels or as any kind of like singers, any kind of female person who was in a spotlight anywhere, like, unless it was video vixens and, you know, you were part of a group where that was an aesthetic that you engaged with and found attractive. If you were white, it was just skinny, no ass the entire time. Little tits, no ass. That's it. That's all that's allowed. Yeah. Good question, though. Really good question. Love helping out. Because, yeah, new poly is a doozy, especially I've never had to open up a relationship that was originally monogamous, so I don't have any personal advice about doing that process in a way that works well. I've just, from the time that I've been poly. Like, I had one very brief relationship where at the very end of it, right before we broke up, we opened up that relationship a little to explore. And then, you know, by the time we've been doing poly for like a couple months, like 2 months or so, we broke up. So after that point, you know, and that point we were like long distance, like we were doing an open relationship, but, you know, we hadn't been together for 20 years. You know, we weren't married. Like, it was a, you know, we were young. It was a totally different circumstance, totally different level of involvement. Just being open to meeting people and being honest with your wants is a good start. Yeah. And like, you can go to like E&M meetups. You can go to like, I don't like that they call them munches, but I know polyamorous people have munches. I'm like, get your own word. Just call it a meetup. Don't call it a munch. That's my word. I get defensive when people start calling things that aren't aftercare, things that aren't munches. Like, munch is a very specific connotation to it, but there's also so much overlap between polyamory and non-monogamy that I'm like, I mean, I kind of get it. I just wish they, you know, I know that people have been confused in the past by they think they're going to a kink munch and then they show up and it's like polyamory and it's like not what they're expecting it to be at all. And I feel bad when that happens. It could be worse. You could have grown up watching America's Next Top Model. That was super toxic. Oh yeah, that's definitely. I feel like that, is sort of the pinnacle of the whole experience, but it's definitely in that time frame. I guess I still saw the 80s Playboy Bunny type, which wasn't about being real thin and skinny for sure. Yeah, the 80s Playboy Bunny, from my experience, was a lot more, like, curvy. Like, not thick necessarily, but, like, you know, butts weren't illegal at that point in time. We were more open to butts existing. So I think there was a little more room. But I think now is probably more open than either one. Oh my god, I was devastated when my partner told me details about his girlfriend's genitals and breasts I couldn't get out of my head. Oh yeah, this is why you don't, even if you're doing it in a favorable way, just don't go there. I don't need to know what your, like, don't tell your partner what your other partner's labia looks like. Don't tell them what their nipples look like or their boobs. Like, that's a farther, if you feel really comfortable, if you feel really secure, you can do that. But then, like, you have to think about it, okay? Right? What's the saying? It's like, what's necessary and what's kind? And is there ever a reason why it's necessary to disclose what your metamor's labia look like? I would say that's never necessary. There's never a reason that is like an absolutely must know. Of course, your partner might ask, in which case you might want to clarify before you respond. Why would you like that information? Because also a part of this too is not violating your other partner's privacy. They might not want you to share naked photos of them, descriptions of their body parts. Like, some people are totally cool with that and are like, yeah, I don't care, talk about whatever. And other people are like, I would prefer it if you didn't, like, talk to your partners about how difficult it is for me to have an orgasm, what my boobs look like, what my nipples look like, what my labia look like, or like people with penises, right? Like, I don't want you to how big my penis is, how easily I'm able to get erect, how long it takes me to come, like generally speaking, either side of that equation could be hurt by the sharing of that information. But oh my god, some people just really want to know. I luckily don't have this in my life currently, but I've definitely dated people in the past who the first thing they want to know about a new person that I'm seeing is like how big their dick is. And it's like, you know that I don't care about that. Like, I don't know. I have not asked them. We did not meet on Grindr. I have not measured their penis size. But some people really want to know. Like, a core part of their security in a relationship is like, feeling, well, like, even if I tell somebody that I don't care about how big their penis is, they will use it as a measuring stick to be like, well, they're only, you know, let's say this person is, they think, no is a strong word, they think that they're 6 inches, and so if a new partner has a 5.5 inch penis, then they're like, oh, I'm safe, I'm good. And I feel like that's maybe not a healthy thing to do. Because the length is not the only thing, but it's the thing that men think women care about, I guess. I don't know. Seems silly to me. They're just more, yeah, like big, small butts. I cannot lie. Yeah. Her, I know with that background toxicity, I reported that person. I don't even know who they were talking to. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. It was weird. Apparently, innie versus outie is becoming common. Oh, color. Yeah. It's like people get fucking weird about like the color of labia, and it's like, just be grateful that you have access to this. Like, what? It's so weird. Like, you have the right Pantone color, so therefore I cannot put a part of my body inside of you. Fucking crazy work. Absolutely crazy work happening there. Yeah, people have like innie versus outie labia and stuff, but then I don't know. Like, again, just be grateful. Just like be like, does it really matter? Oh, sorry, that's probably annoying people. It's just very, very strange to me. But also people don't know that there's like variety. Because they just see what they see in textbooks, right? And then in porn. And most people in porn have like innies. And most people in porn don't have very prominent clitori. And most people in porn are like either mostly hairless or totally hairless. Like there's most people in porn, like there's a very specific porn look that people are used to. And then when they don't see that, they like freak out about it. They're like, oh my God, something's wrong. There's competing standards for measuring penises, all of which require a third party to do effectively. Yeah, because pretty much everybody over measures their penis. You're talking about belly buttons. I mean, there is also that, I guess. Some people might care about that. Some people care about innie versus outie belly buttons. Somebody's got a fetish for that, I'm sure, at some point. Yeah. And then I think they're talking about labia. Which, you know what? Don't feel insecure about that. That's another one of the many facets of human biology that we don't have control over. And could you technically get surgery to change it if you wanted to? Yes. Is that a procedure that you should go for immediately? No. Some people get it done because, like, it can actually, if you have, like, very prominent inner labia, it can actually cause, like, discomfort and issues. And some people get them reduced because of that. But if your husband or your spouse or your partner is, like, remove your disgusting labia because it offends me, have you just thought about removing your boyfriend? I think that would be cheaper. I think removing your boyfriend in this situation is cheaper than plastic surgery. Oh, yeah, or nipples. Yeah, because you can have inverted nipples. Yeah, that's a thing. You think the fact that porn stars have innies would contradict the incel roast beef myth, but apparently no. You know what? Someone should bring that up to them. Someone should ask them about that. That's a great point. And I don't know why no one's ever, like, thought about that. Because, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, preferences are totally different than, like, get this surgery for me. Like, there's a line where it's like, of course, everyone, like, has preferences. Like, some people like a penis that's curved. Some people like a penis that's not curved. Some people like penises that are cut. Some people like penises that aren't. Like, preferences are like, you know, this is something I like, but you're not going to be like, hey, you thought about trying, what do people call it? Foreskin restoration. Have you thought about trying foreskin restoration? No, of course not. Oh my God, you don't know about the roast beef thing? Yeah, so, incels believe, they call them roasties, by the way, just in case you Google this later, which you shouldn't, but if you do. The theory is that you can tell how much sex a woman has had, / how many sex partners she has had, by the condition of her labia. And the more sex partners she has had, the more stretched out she becomes, and the more that her labia will hang out like flaps of roast beef. But porn stars, as we've already established, have sex professionally with many different people, and they typically have retracted or smaller inner labia because that's what's preferable as a body type in that setting. Then there's lots of women who've only ever had sex with one guy that have labia that are more prominent. It's weird. Yeah. It's very, people just be saying stuff. People really do just be saying things, and they, yeah. Yeah, it's so unscientific and it's so weird. It's like somebody saw like a woman with like prominent labia once and were like, there has to be a reason for this. This is unusual. And they came up with like the worst reason humanly possible for it. Yeah. It's like incels are incels for a reason sometimes, you know? It's just, you know, they can blame everyone else, but sometimes it's their own beliefs. All right. Anyways, enough incel talk. Moving on from that subject. As childish as it may sound, I feel like those adult card games or dice is a good baby step to BDSM, provided you have a partner that you trust, or even just to figure out what you like and dislike. Yes, I think actually that's like one of the better like ways of using it for sure. Like I think people like think that they're like, I don't know, yes, no, maybe checklists, anything that really starts a conversation. Because even just like card games and things that you could play with partners just to get to know each other better. And there's ones that'll have like kinkier stuff mixed in that can make it easier to broach that conversation. So, yeah. I'm vaguely having flashbacks to how I acted during my first academic conference, just staring at a presenter who's every buck-eyed red, too scared to say anything. Yeah, I mean, I guess every field has similar stuff like that. I'm sure people who are into like tabletop games have a similar thing if they run into somebody who runs a really big, you know, internet D&D podcast. If two partners are both switches, can they switch roles in the middle of a scene, or is it something that isn't really done? It depends. It definitely does happen. It's usually harder to navigate that of like when the moment of switching is. Typically, either people will they'll have a contest at the beginning of the scene to determine who's going to top during the scene, or it's outright negotiated ahead of time. But occasionally, you will have like role reversal scenes where somebody will be in control at the beginning of the scene. And then at some point during the scene, maybe there's like a key phrase that gets used or an action that happens. And then that indicates that like, okay, now it's the other person's like turn to be the one who's in control or topping. Yeah, so it happens. It's a little bit harder to navigate doing that in a smooth way. So it's not the number one thing, but it can happen. They airbrush out urethra in porn. That's crazy. Was that a censorship thing? Or is that just a, oh, it's icky thing? Probably both, I imagine. It's almost like people have different body types. That's not allowed. Only one type of woman is allowed. Yeah, I think there's definitely something about body types and like our ideas of what's masculine and feminine. I think there's a correlation there. Welcome, Red Cat. Glad to hear that you've been watching the content. All right, I'm looking for questions. I think I answered the one about COVID precautions already, so I'm skipping over that. I've definitely had tops with you that can't match my expectations because they saw me do breathplay and think I only play at that level. Yeah, it's another one too. Like, even if you're not a presenter or somebody who's an authority in the scene, you really get people who are like, oh my gosh, I can't, do a scene with you because I've seen you do like this really intense like needleplay scene or trampling scene or breathplay, and so you have to have that, right, to like feel good during a scene. And it's like, no. I like variety. I like doing lots of different stuff. That's an option, but it's not the best thing. Like, more intense. I mean, there's definitely masochists out there where, like, what feels best to them is a more intense scene, and playing at a lower level isn't satisfying for them. But, like, I think most people, especially for, like, new play, are fine with or even, like, enjoy, like, playing with softer elements, especially if it's a kink they normally don't get to play with very often. Stickers are a shockingly good reinforcer. Yes, they are. I thought it said sticks at first, and I'm like, sticks are also a shockingly good reinforcer. Both sticks and stickers. Different types of reinforcement, but, it's the stick. It's as opposed to the stick in the carrot, it's a stick in the stickers. It's the modern version. I think I put the nasal spray name in the chat, but I talked about Covixel and Profi. Yeah, some people are still masking. Yep. And I am one of them. Amira asks, I do want to try kinky things with my partner, but not sure what specifically yet because I'm still figuring out what I'm into, which is probably pathetic considering I'm almost 30. Not at all. Amira, I know people who don't get into the scene until they're like their 50s, their 60s. There's no wrong time to get into the scene unless you're a minor, in which case you are too young. Please wait. No, not at all. People get into the scenes like in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, all the time. Super, super common. Not a problem whatsoever. And in fact, even if you've been in the scene for a while at that age, like your kink tastes are still developing. It doesn't mean that anything is set in stone. So I love going through a yes, no, maybe checklist. I have one available on my Patreon. There's other ones that are available for free online. I think mine is the most thorough and includes the most different number of kinks. And I like the way that I have it organized. So I like mine personally, but there are other options out there that are maybe less comprehensive, but also less overwhelming. But it's a good starting point. And even just like reading through the list and Googling different words you don't know, different terms you haven't seen before, and just like checking them out a little bit might give you ideas over what you're curious about. I like going through them, and as opposed to just saying yes and no, putting things on a scale between 1 and 10 in terms of how excited you are about the idea, where 1 is like not at all, hard no, and 10 is like my ideal perfect kink, I must try this. And that can give you a good idea of where your interests lie, see if there's like clusters of things that are similar, like am I really into a lot of different types of impact play? Am I really curious about different types of bondage or role play? Am I really curious about power exchange? Am I really curious about whatever other, like electroplay or something? And that'll give you some general ballpark ideas of like, oh, here are like the 4 things that I'm the most curious about. And it doesn't mean that you'll like them, but it does give you a direction to get started in. So it'll make it less overwhelming because, yeah, when you're new to the scene, you haven't seen other people play before, you haven't really tried anything before, you never felt anything, you're not really going to know. But there's so many kinks that it can be overwhelming to know where to start, and it can just help you narrow down where to begin your focus. And then you try a couple, maybe that helps you kind of go, oh, okay, well, like I thought I was going to be into this, but I'm not, it's going a different direction. Or maybe you're really into it, so then you like revisit the list, like maybe you try spanking and then you give it a go and you're like, this is amazing, I love spanking. And so then that kind of reopens up all the like impact play stuff. Okay, maybe you want to try different types of impact play that are like closely related to spanking, and then just kind of radiate out from there. Same thing with like bondage or like power exchange or anything like that. And that'll help you just sort of figure out maybe what kinks are the most appealing to you. But no, I think being honest about where you're at in your kink journey and that you don't know what you like yet is a good place to be at. And it's totally not lame at all. Don't shame yourself. I would much, much rather people be honest with themselves about the fact that they're figuring out what they're into versus faking it because they believe that they need to know what they should like and then just like throwing darts at a dartboard and being like, yeah, I like bondage, I guess, because I think I should. Like, no, don't do that. Have your own personal experience with that, whatever it looks like. I got into the scene at 33 or so. I got into the scene at 50. Yeah, lots of people get into the scene at all different ages, and there is no right or wrong time. Cover Bring Me to Life by Evanescence just popped up on my feed. Perfect. I am responsible for that. That's me. I did that. I'm not like a super fan or anything. I'm not like a stalker, but I do enjoy Evanescence. Oh, the labia library, which shows the diversity of labia. That's sweet. I love that. I was aware of kinky stuff at definitely too young of an age by virtue of growing up online, but I only got into it many years later. Yeah. Actually, I think because you're coming into the scene in the 30s or even just like your late 20s, where you have more dating and relationship experience, you're actually probably better off as a new person compared to somebody who's like freshly 18. because you've had some practice at adult relationships and like navigating boundaries and navigating what you do and don't like at a partner and like saying no to people. And when you're 18, you might have a little bit of some of that stuff, but not nearly as much as when you're 28, especially if you've been actively dating during that time. If you have a long-term partner or you're married, like maybe less so, but you can, like you still have conflict in marriage. You still have opportunities to say no or set boundaries. So you have some level of practice. So it's not just a downside, but you have to mitigate and work around. It can actually be a nice thing where you're not just like learning basic relationship skills, basic sexual negotiation, and also trying to learn kink stuff on top of that. Like, you've got some experience with the first two probably, and so that makes it so it's easier to focus on that newer stuff. Plus, also, if you already have an existing partner, like, you're not gonna have as many like predatory people being like, ooh, freshly new 18-year-old, let's go after this person. There's gonna be some people that, as long as you're new, are gonna be like, hey, new person, but less so than if you're a single 18-year-old who has no experience doing anything. All right, 15-minute warning. If you have not had your question answered, please put it in the chat again now, and I will attempt to answer it. If you don't put it in the chat, you cannot blame me for not answering your question. You have been warned. Yes, thank you, Sean. Yes, 15-minute warning. Thank you. I don't know if you submitted that before I said it or if we were just in sync on that one. But good stuff, yeah. Evanescence Bangs, vaguely related. Finding your channel inspired me to start experimenting more with my makeup and generally goth up my style a bit more. Well, I'm glad to inspire that. That makes me happy. I think people should experiment and find what they want. Yeah, the stream is 7/8 of the way over. So precise. We love fractions here, folks. We love fractions. Yes, I do plan to mask for the rest of my life because I don't care about masking. It's fine. It's not medicine, but it is a way of preventing, reducing your likelihood of contracting COVID and other nasal viruses as well. But specifically, were developed for COVID. Oh, did I get booted to the bottom of the chat? I did. I've been thinking I'd love to hear Amy Lee do a cover of I Just Want to Live from Baldur's Gate 3. That would be interesting. Can you still go to parties if you're not playing? I don't feel connected to my kinky self right now, but I still like to go and dance. Yes. You definitely don't have to play it. In fact, the whole party ecosystem at most places depends on not everybody playing. Because if everyone is playing, there's not enough, either there's like hardly anyone there, or there's just not enough furniture. If it's a popular dungeon night, there is simply not going to be enough furniture for everyone to do a scene. And thank you so much for the end of the stream gift, Sean. That's very generous of you. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone tell Sean thank you for their generosity, as always. But yes, you don't have to play. You can just show, as long as you are giving everyone a respectful distance and you're not getting all up in people's scenes, you are more than welcome to watch people, to dance, to do whatever. And in fact, having people that are not that are watching in a respectful way is part of what makes a party fun, because a lot of people are exhibitionists and a lot of people want people to watch them. And so if you are still contributing to the kink environment of the space just by watching and being present in the space while people are doing things. You might have people approach you and try to talk to you, and you might have somebody come up to you and ask if you might be interested in doing a scene. So be prepared to say no if you don't want to play, but you don't have to. And even if you are playing that night, most people are still going to spend at least part of the time at a party not playing. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's very normal. And I actually think it's a good thing. I recommend that people spend their first time or two going to a new event space, even if you've been in the scene for a while. The first time going to a new party, I recommend just going to watch. Check out this event space, see how you feel being there, connect with people, get names, get faces, get familiar with the environment, and then the second, third, fourth time you show up, then you can play. Because then you'll really, really know what the space is like. And then you'll know what equipment is there, when it's busiest. You'll know people. You feel more comfortable in the space. Like, just give yourself time to collect that information before you commit to doing a scene. And welcome to our new members. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Oh God, I'm so sorry about, that sounds like a very intense amount of blood pressure. That sounds real bad. I'm glad that you managed to survive that. I love switching mid-scene intuitively. If you have a great rapport with someone who also loves it and has improv or freestyle skills, it could be awesome fun. Yes. Yeah, it's definitely not common, but if you have that particular skill set and that dynamic with the person, it can be a lot of fun to play with that, absolutely. A lot of people also want to do their kink in public, so this is next best thing, and you can also expect them to want you to watch. Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what I was just saying. I just love hanging out in my local space and feeling the energy, even though I've been going for almost 10 years. Yeah, I mean, I know people who, they go and they volunteer and they, like, never play. Like, I know a couple of people where, like, the whole time I've been in the scene, I have never seen them play with anybody. They don't approach people for play. They don't do pickup play. They volunteer. They work the front desk. They DM. But they never do scenes themselves. They are there to be part of the community environment, not necessarily play. So it's a key part of the ecosystem for sure. Listen, every fish tank needs shrimp. Every fish tank needs shrimp, okay? Sometimes you're the fish, and sometimes you're the snail, and sometimes you're the little shrimpies. You know what I mean? The fish people get it. Fish people know what I'm talking about. Not all switching in scene is switch fighting. To be clear, some people, that's different. So switching mid-scene based on achieving something in the scene, or using a keyword, or getting to some kind of crescendo of the scene experience is a way of switching during the scene. But that's not necessarily a switch fight. A switch fight actually typically happens towards the earlier part of the scene. And then that's like a contest of wills where then after you've done the switch fight, then whoever has won is the dominant one. Sometimes the whole scene itself is the switch fight. So either it's like the very beginning part of the scene or the whole scene is the switch fight. But it's usually not like car alarms. I'm going to check to make sure that doesn't belong to my car. Sometimes pine cones fall on trees. Oh yeah, that's not mine. That's my neighbor's car. That one's like, it's right outside my window too. That's very loud. I'm sorry if people can hear that. Oh, there we go. It fixed. It's because I shamed them about it. But no, so not all switching in scenes is switch fighting. Some of it is, but not all of it. Can I be the otter in the fish tank? Sure. Whatever you negotiate. Is not stopping immediately after the safe word always a relationship ender? We were both slightly tipsy in the moment. We know we won't drink again before we play. He's super apologetic. It depends on the relationship, and I think it depends on the context a little bit. I think making any sort of absolute statement of you must always end a relationship after a safe word is called if somebody doesn't end immediately. I don't think that's necessarily a hard and fast rule. Like, okay, you were both drinking. It was noisy. Oh, okay, my phone's listening to me now. Please. Oh, no, don't do that, phone. For some reason, my phone decided I needed my AI assistant to turn on for that for some reason. No, don't listen to me. Don't listen to me while I'm streaming, phone. Jesus, stuff. Listening to everything. What was I saying? It's not necessarily always. I think there is a malicious ignoring a safe word where somebody's like, oh, I guess I didn't notice. Oh, well. And like, you can kind of tell that they're like, hey, I got away with it. And then there's like, okay, the environment wasn't the best. Our communication was impaired, and they feel really sorry about it. And they are very apologetic. That's like let's make a plan to have that not happen again in the future. And then if it does happen again, then we reevaluate. And then at that point, it's not even necessarily, if they do it again, it means they're being malicious and they're trying to manipulate me, which I think is how sometimes people think about like safe word violations or not immediately stopping a scene. Maybe their communication is just not up to snuff with that. Like maybe they need to work on like having better awareness of safe words. And if they can't get to that point, then they're maybe not a safe person to play with, or at least do those kinds of scenes with. So yeah, I would say that's like, definitely work on it, treat it seriously because it is an issue and it could cause more problems in the future. But if it's being addressed in a concrete way and you're making a game plan of what to do in the future, whether it's like developing a backup safe word, changing the ways that you play, how you communicate in scene, not drinking before play, all that stuff I think will contribute to reducing that risk level to have it happen again. But yeah, there is a difference between people who are like maliciously like, oh, haha, I guess I didn't hear you. And like people who are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I don't know how I missed it. Like, there's a difference. And if you're with somebody for long enough, you can usually tell the difference. Yeah, no motorcycle today. Instead, I got the, I think one just went by actually. Instead, I got the car alarm guy. Are they the same person? I don't think so. Probably not. It definitely wasn't malicious. It was an accident. I think we need a more clear safe word or something. My trust is shaken though, so I'm finding it hard to get back. I mean, totally valid. I think it can both be true that trust is shaken, but that they didn't do it on purpose. Because it's not even that it's like, oh, they're a bad actor and they hurt me. It's there's a gap there that could cause issues in the future. I definitely recommend having a verbal and a nonverbal safe word, especially when you're going to be playing with, maybe being under the influence or being in a crowded area, or maybe a verbal safe word could be harder to hear. If you have the ability to have physical contact with your partner, like doing a 2 taps or like squeezes, or maybe you have a bell or like a ball that you could like drop that would like make noise or be a visual distraction or something. Even having like a whistle in your mouth, that you could blow on. That's like very obvious. That's a safe word. And then I think it's reasonable to want to build back up your confidence again. So stepping back down in terms of intensity level or scene length, and just working your way back up to getting that confidence, right? I have friends that have been in car accidents and, after they've had the car accident, even if it wasn't their fault, they maybe don't feel comfortable driving on those roads for a little bit. And they work up their confidence again by just being very careful, not driving in traffic, going the speed limit. And then after a couple of weeks doing that, feeling confident again, maybe they feel okay turning the radio back on, or they feel okay driving at night, or they feel okay driving on busier roads again. And you just slowly ramp back up that confidence level by practicing in less risky settings and then elevating that risk a little bit over time. Yeah, but hopefully that helps you out, and good luck. And I'm very sorry that happened to you, and I'm glad that your partner was apologetic, and hopefully they're willing to work with you on that. At our newbie parties, I top at all the booths for practice, and I bottom at all the tasting booths for the second half of the party. I mean, hey, that is the ultimate. You are maximizing your switching there. That is switch maximization if I've ever heard it. Good for you. All right, I'm going to do probably one more question here. Who will be the final question? As an older kinkster, I want to start a petition for brunch play parties. Those late nights could be rough. Yeah, I think brunch would be great for people who have kids, people who have night jobs, all that. I'm very pro brunch parties. I think having a little, I think for femdoms, that's a great idea. Having a little femdom brunch, a little foot worship mimosa situation. I think that'd be really cute. I think having a rope jam daytime brunch on the weekend could be really fun. There's definitely kinks where I think a brunch event works really well. Maybe not every kink, the moodiness of an evening event I think works better for other kinks. But daytime play parties. Talk to your local dungeon. Say, hey, I'd love to help organize, help promote, sort of be the event coordinator for a daytime event on a Sunday or a Saturday. How do we make that happen? Even just to test it out for like 1 weekend to see if there's interest. You never know. There's definitely going to be people that like don't get to go to events because of their work schedule or school schedule or like family arrangements, and maybe the Saturday 2 p.m. slot works great for them, but a Friday at 8 p.m. doesn't. Yeah, you never know. Yeah, re-ask your question. Let me... Oh my gosh, so sorry, there's like... So, any advice for actually starting negotiation for two ADHDers who are both into kink but keep having vanilla sex due to procrastinating negotiation? Ah, yes. Oh, that flavor of ADHD. Gotcha. I feel like gamifying it is probably the technique that I would use. Not being someone with ADHD myself, so I don't know exactly what's like to do it from a to ADHD having situation, but gamifying it and breaking it down into smaller chunks. So like having some like reward system in place of like, okay, what are the like top 5 things that we need to know before we play together, right? Like safe word usage, aftercare usage, how we want to feel during the scene, what we want to play with in the scene, and then like I don't know, whatever, like 5th thing might be like the most important to you besides that. Are we going to have sex? Like, where does sex come into this equation, right? Those are kind of like, maybe that'll be your top 5. It could be other things, but those are kind of from the top of my head what I would consider the top 5. Okay, you've got like 5 things. All right. We can use answering these things as a reward for something else, right? So if we go through these questions, then we can play video games together. Or we can have a little sweet treat. Or you can watch an episode of the anime that we've been watching. Or, we can get something cute from the store. We can buy a new candle or something from the store. Or we could do some other kind of reward or gamifying thing where it's maybe you get a sticker. Or you get to like, even just like crossing something off on a list, even if it's not a sticker, just like having the check mark can be so satisfying that it becomes rewarding enough on its own. But like, don't overthink it. I think a lot of negotiation lists are very detailed. And if you already have an established partner, there's probably quite a bit that for a first time scene, you can kind of just like skip over for right now. And then hopefully the play is fun enough to where then it becomes reinforcing and rewarding enough to revisit a negotiation and other further questions in more detail. It's a fantastic idea. You're very welcome. Yeah, I think that's part of the issue, IMO. I'm the D-type, he's the S-type, and I also really like the negotiation. Also helps with my own anxiety, peace of mind, while he usually plays more loose. Oh, yeah, the contest. I know what that's like, of like somebody who prefers a more like loosey-goosey dynamic and somebody who prefers like a stricter negotiation. I've sort of, in that sense, I've used a negotiation as a tool for building anticipation, and as an S-type, I'm somebody who likes a more thorough negotiation. So I will actually come up with like a rank ordered list of like, here's what I'm most excited about in order. All of them are things that I'm okay happening to me, but they're in order of what would be the most exciting to me, and then I kind of give that to my partner as like a here, like pick what you like, pick your top 5 from this, and then we can play with that. I can't explain how annoyingly seen complimentary this makes me feel. I am glad that it's helpful. Timers really help with my procrastination. Don't be like the teacher I had between kindergarten and first grade who put an alarm clock on my desk set to go up every 5 minutes. Yeah, I think that there's like maybe even just doing that of like giving yourself like 5 minutes to be like, all right, for the next 5 minutes, we're going to talk about this. And then once we get through it, then we're going to do something fun. We're going to play a song. Even that too, like combining, it doesn't have to be like a then a reward later. It could be a combination with another fun activity, right? Like if you like roller skating or going for walks or listening to a podcast or listening to music, right? Like maybe your partner has like a favorite band they listen to, right? Pop on the music. And then like while they have the music on, they can like sing to it a little bit. They can like dance around and like kind of use the dopamine from the fun activity to like bolster the unfun activity while also like not procrastinating on it. Yeah. Yeah, you can also use the DS to like order them. You can be like, all right, well, I'm in charge, so I'm ordering you to do this. And sometimes even just framing it as being an order can kind of like tip it over into being easier to play with. But anyways, I can feel my voice going out a little bit. I am hungry, so I'm going to go have a little snack. Thank you all so much for all your wonderful questions today. Stay safe this weekend. Have fun. Drink your water. Wear your sunscreen. And I will talk to you all again later. Bye. And also say goodnight to Bendita because she is very sleepy. All right. See you all later. Talk to you all. Actually, wait, next week. I'm going to be gone on Friday next week because I'm going to be at Thornwood. So actually, you won't see me next week. I mean, in video form, you will see me, but not in live stream form. I will be streaming on Monday and Tuesday for Patreon, but not on Friday for YouTube, FYI. We'll be back next week as normal, but just so you know what's going to happen. And I will talk to you again later.